we all experience, there's also the need to be safe from certain things happening. Both of them are a kind of security, I suppose. Freedom and security are very closely interlinked.
And I think as far as individuals are concerned, to be free from one's own glamours is very important to consider too, because...
What do you mean by glamours, Dale?
Well, all the hang-ups that we have, the illusions that we carry around with us, and most of us wouldn't admit that we have any illusions, but they're distorted ways of looking at the world or distorted ways of thinking.
Most people probably think they see the world exactly as it is.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, that our perception is not always accurate, and we carry around these misperceptions and misunderstandings that actually are a block on our freedom, and they turn into what we call glamours. They're referred to in the Bailey writings as glamours and illusions, and to be free from those is not an easy thing, but it takes careful looking at oneself and being very honest with oneself.
I was thinking about that very point. How would you know if your thinking is really liberated or whether it's constricted? And it occurred to me that as we cultivate certain values, maybe we free up our thinking. One would be the cultivation of a real, genuine, again, goodwill towards other people. In other words, when you form a judgment or an opinion, you read the newspaper, you listen to the news, and you react with an opinion. We all do. Is it biased toward any particular groups within humanity, or is it expressing a real goodwill toward the fundamental nature of human beings, even as you look at wrong and even evil deeds? So goodwill would be one liberating factor. Another would be a positive viewpoint of life, believing that life is basically good and that human beings are good, rather than this very dark view of life that concludes the world's a scary and frightful and unfair place. And a third that struck me would be the cultivation of inclusiveness, the ability to think in terms of humanity as a whole and to feel a connection with groups and people who might be very different from oneself, to not see them as alien.
What you're describing seems to be the presence of the soul, the human soul, beginning to make a more of an impact on the person.
So the soul is what liberates the thinking.
Yes, it's the directing element. I think that it directs us towards higher sense of values, and the freedom really comes when that soul begins to make an impact and begins to influence our lives, influences the way you think, influences the way you act and the way you speak, and all of that is very much present, I think, when the soul is present and begins to, you can feel it in yourself when it begins to, when you begin to change your pattern of thinking.
But most of us probably think of freedom as personal liberty, the free, permissive expression of the separated self. Don't fence me in is the cry of the personality. Let me do what I want when I want, and don't get in my way, Buster.
Isn't the concept of harmlessness tied in with the soul and also goodwill in a sense? Because since reading the Lucis Trust material, I've become obsessed with the theme of harmlessness. Any action that I make is always, is this going to harm other people? And of course, Alice Bailey generates this idea that that's the way we create a better world. So everything I do now, will this harm other people, is my question. But aren't those three intertwined? Harmlessness, the soul, and goodwill?
Yes. Yeah. The soul, the soul on its own level, which all of us belong to, you could say. We are all souls. in some stage or another of expressing our highest, best self. That highest, best self is innately harmless because it is one with all souls. There is no my soul and your soul. It's simply the soul that unites us all. So how could it be harmful? And goodwill is the early stages, as you put it, of this fundamental love that unites people.
Yeah, and I think if you think back, I mean, I'm just trying to present a sort of a bigger picture here, and you think back, the idea of freedom, for example, is relatively new in human history. It's only been 200 or 300 years, let's say, since the
Enlightenment.
the Enlightenment, but the French Revolution and the American Revolution was definite expressions of this first indications of freedom and the desire for freedom in human life. And then the war, World War I and II, and of course Franklin FDR's great proclamations of freedom, and Lincoln's the proclamation of the freeing of the slaves. These are all indications of this idea, the urge to freedom is coming through in human actions and human ideas, and it's leading us somewhere towards greater liberation. That's the ultimate stage down the road towards liberation.
Yeah, I don't think we know where it's leading us, but it's safe to say that we won't understand it until we really keep in mind that it's a value and aspiration that is shared by every human being. You cannot think in terms of your own need for freedom, your own people's need for freedom, without realizing that everybody has that urge. For example, I don't see how the conflict in the Middle East can ever be solved until all of the people involved and the rest of the world who stand by and observe realize that all those souls want freedom. They all want the freedom for their children to grow up in peace and with a better life. When we begin to see this about our fellow men, even when we disagree with them, we know they have those same values, maybe then we can find some common ground. It's a start. The alternative of villainizing people hasn't worked.
No, the common ground is the human soul. That's where we all come together, and that sense of oneness has begun to be realized.
Well, once again, at this point, if you'd like our gift, we're sending you a free copy of the World Goodwill newsletter, which has a number of interesting essays in it, articles. One that I enjoyed most is the article called Freedom from Fear. If you'd like that, give us a call, and we'll be happy to send that out to you, along with, if you'd like it, our general package of information. Call us at 1-866-695-8247 if you'd like to have us send that out to you. Or the easy way to remember, 1-866-NY-LUCIS. LUCIS is L-U-C-I-S. That's about all the time we have for our discussion today. You've been listening to Inner Sight. Now we would like to close with a world prayer called the Great Invocation. It's a call for light and love and goodwill to flow into the world and into our hearts. Let's listen for a moment to these powerful words.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.